Hey champions, how are you doing? Well, if you're looking at automating your business and transforming the way you operate, the way the work gets done in your business, then this video is for you. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur, a startup, or a young professional looking to push the automation transformation initiatives in your business. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things that you must keep in mind, and that's the way you go about doing an automation of your business, getting your business to adopt automation. So here are the 5 points right away for all of you. Point number one, timing. When I speak to business owners, and I've had a long time speaking to business owners, consulting them on processes, in these 20 years, I've learned that when people talk of automation, they are talking about transforming the whole organization. Normally, they're in their minds, they think that by automating, I will work so differently that all my business problems are going to disappear. If you go into automation with this mindset and with these thoughts, then you may not only be up for a rude shock, but it will also burn a hole in your pocket. The reason being, the businesses are at 3 stages predominantly. The first stage is startup, the second phase is growth, and the third phase is expansion. Now, you may call it whatever these phases are, but you get the drift, right? You know what I'm talking about. If you're a company which is at the startup phase, then this is not the time for you to go for that expensive ERP solution or go for hardcore automation unless your startup business itself is of making an app. Now, why I say so? Because all startup businesses go through something called as pivot, which means what they think their business is on day one completely changes from on day 10th or the month 10th. They pivot, they change the business. And when the business model changes, when the customer segments that you're dealing with it changes, or when you go the way you approach changes, when business model changes, the processes are also going to change. And what you automate the processes. So when you are across this amount of change, do not go ahead and invest into a large format ERP. Even for an existing business which may be at a growth and an expansion stage, but is starting a new product, which is the start of the product. So technically for that product line, you are still a startup. Do not invest or try and automate that vertical of your business by implementing a ERP, which is very expensive. You must therefore go back to Excel and Google Sheets. We've managed companies which are 300 crores on their processes on Excel sheet and Google Sheets. Now, do I say that that's the most recommended way? Of course not. But if you're starting up, then that's the thing that you should employ first before you put a large chunk of money. Now, if you're hell bent on using a software, then in that case, even in this stage, you could go for freemium software. What do I mean by freemium? Well, nothing in this world is free, but there are software companies which have created small things to do a portion of how you go about doing business, and they offer a lot of these features for free, and you can manage the volume of business that you have at the startup stage on these freemium applications. To give you a few names, I'll give you 3 in fact. ClickUp, which is a task management tool, Slack, which is an internal communication tool for collaboration within the team, and Calendly, that can help you go about managing your calendar so that you don't have conflicting meetings. If you want to see a video on this, I just did a video very recently. I'll paste the link down below and it will appear somewhere here too. So that's the kind of software that you should go about. Now, in case if you're in the growth stage, you're not introducing a new product line or starting a new venture, or you are expansion stage, you're in the expansion stage and not starting up any new thing, and then you want to go about implementing ERP and softwares or large transformational automation, then you can do that. But there is a way to do it, and more about that in the following points. So that brings me to point number 2, have clear objectives. Now, when I say have clear objectives, whenever I ask the customers that I consult on processes, what is the objective and why do they really want to do automation, they give me very high level answers. I want my company to become fast. I want errors to not happen. I want the quality to increase. I want the time to reduce. That's not what I mean by objectives. When you do a software development project, let's say you have to break it down into several parts. So let's say you want to do software development for your entire company. You first say, okay, let me do it for inventory, for example. Let me automate my warehouse, because that's going to be a standalone software module which will be talking to the other modules of your company, which is the sales module, the operations, the purchase, etc., etc. But software development never happens all modules together, because that is a boil the ocean strategy. So when you think of objectives, you got to think of, let's say, one module, and then be able to tell yourself or ask yourself, what is it that I really want to derive out of this module? Now, when you ask yourself this question, do not come up with answers again which are very high level. Like, for example, I want my inventory levels to go down. I don't want to invest a lot of money into the inventory. I want the products to be coming to me very quickly. That's not the objective. The objective is more towards what kind of information you need to transport from one place to another, So write that down, that this information should be visible here, which means I want to know what is the status of my, or how many units do I have in my stock of a particular product real time. So that's the objective number one. The objective number two could be automation, which means I need to not calculate that, okay, this is my consumption trend, therefore how much should I produce or how much should I buy. The software should be able to automate that basis the data that it collects from the products that go out of my warehouse. So that's the automation objective. Then you may have objectives around visibility. What should be visible in your dashboard or in your reports. These are the objectives that you must write down first before you jump into developing a software or you ask somebody to develop a software. Now that brings us to point number 3, which is define the process. Now that you have defined the objectives, now to achieve those objectives, you got to go about defining the process. Now, here is the thing, right? When you go to the software development companies, software development company is a software development company. Now, what do I mean by that? They know how to code, how to write a code, okay, the language of the software. They are not process experts, but by the virtue of them writing the codes, what do they write codes for? They write codes to automate processes. So they know the processes a little bit. It's exactly similar to how you as an entrepreneur do accounts or deal with money, but that does not make you a CA. In the exact same fashion, the software coders know the processes, but that do not make them a process expert. And therefore, it's very important for you to draft the processes before you hand over the scope document with your objectives. Scope document is a document where it's written, okay, this is how we are going to do it. This is what I want you to automate and get me this result. Result is the objective. Now, how do you go about drafting processes? At your level, I would not encourage you to go about drawing flowcharts. That's for consultants like us to do. But if you don't want to hire consultants who are experts at processes or can design a process more smartly than the regular ways of doing things, then you may want to draft the processes yourself. But how do you go about doing it? So you need to be asking what all data is required for me to get the objective, which means if my objective was I need the visibility of the units that are there in my warehouse, product units, then you need the data of how many products came in because you purchased into your warehouse and how many products went out of your warehouse because you sold something. Now, these two data sets are required. So you write that down. The next question that you ask is, who is going to be collecting this data? So when the product comes in, is it going to be the person who has purchased? Will he tick mark at his end in his diary that yes, this product that I had ordered has come in? Or will it be the inventory guy who's receiving the products? Will there be any document like GRN that will be released? So you write that down. You consolidate all the information at one place. So if it is in the diary, then you write the formats down. If it is written on some Excel sheet, then you collate all of those Excel sheets and be ready. Once you do this exercise, you will be able to draft that this is how I need my work to be done when it comes to the software. This document or this way of explaining things makes it extremely easy for the software guys to understand what you really want and how the flow of information in the software or where the features are going to be, what options do they need. They would understand this much faster. And let me tell you this, software companies make money based on the amount of time they spend on coding the software. So if they understand it faster, which means they're going to do the software faster, which means that the objectives that you wanted to achieve are going to happen faster. But if you confuse them, in every meeting, you discover a new thing that you want, the software is only going to get delayed and you are not going to get results very fast. Point number 4, get the team's buy-in. Now, when you automate the company, automate anything in the company, obviously the success of the automation is going to be people. And if your people do not believe in this automation, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of software you develop, it's not going to function. So how do you go about getting your people in? Talk to your people and explain them the process. Explain them what are the things that are not going great, how much effort they are putting in to get the result, and what would be the case in case if all of this is automated, how much easy it will become for them to do the same result. Once you explain this to them, then the people are going to get the buy-in. The number one thing that entrepreneurs end up goofing upon is getting excited during this conversation, which means they kind of go to their employees and say, hey, you know what, we are going to get the inventory automated and that is going to make sure that 99% of our orders are going to be dispatched in quickest time possible in the whole universe. Now, I understand the intention. The intention behind getting excited about the automation is, one, you're obviously excited naturally. Second, you feel that by getting excited, your people are going to get excited. But that's not how they interpret it. Most cases, people who are not well versed with the software, or people who have used to writing in diaries and paper chits and stuff like that, they are going to get scared because they are going to see their leader, who they report to, who decides what their future salaries are going to be, whether they will have the job or no, is so excited about the goal that they get into the fear that what if I don't achieve that goal. So you kind of end up putting in pressure on your employees, and that's exactly what you don't need to do. What you instead need to do is talk to them, give them time, allow them to settle, because it's a change and it's a big change. Give them the infrastructure that they need, understand from them whether they are comfortable with computers or no, or any other IT structure that you will have. Train them on the IT structure much before the software comes in. Allow two parallel systems to run for a bit. One is the IT system and one is the non-IT system, until they get comfortable by going with it. Incentivize them of all you care. Now that brings us to the fifth point, that is review the progress. Now this is very, very important. This is a stage where you have already done your process bit. You've spoken to the team has okayed the process. They are into training on certain accounts, and now the software development is on. So the software development exercise is an exercise of scoping for the software guys. They write down what is it that you want. And some software companies which are good, they also have something called as business analyst. Now business analyst job is to ask you if and but questions. If this would happen, then how do you do it? But if this is not the case, then how do you do it? They kind of create imaginable scenarios and ask you questions so that they can scope and write the software down very, very well. And then that is getting coded. Now, a lot of information will be required at this point from your company to the software guys. And your presence is extremely important during that time, because you want to make sure that the information transported to them is accurate, is precise, and those are the scenarios that are going to happen. And these are the scenarios that never happen in your business. Incorrect information means incorrect coding, means incorrect software in the testing, which means that it's too late for you to say, hey, you know what, I think this option will be required. So then that will stall rather your software improvement project. So you got to be available at that time. Another aspect where you got to be available is during demonstrations. When the software is made and the software is demonstrated to you and your team, you got to be available there, because chances are your team may forget how to do a certain thing on the software. If you know it and you are an expert at it, then you will be able to assist them. If there is no assistance other than the software team coming in and doing the assistance, take it for granted that your people will feel handicapped and they would revert to the older ways of doing things, because for that they have assistance or they have expertise. But the new thing, there's nobody to assist when they actually need one. The third thing that you want to do is, once this assistance is over and the software is about to get deployed, you got to monitor how it's going, what kind of reports and visibility is happening for a few months from there, to let the software settle in. So without your involvement, nothing is going to get transformed in the organization. Now, when I say this, there is a disclaimer that I want to make. I don't mean to say that you need to leave all your strategy job and do this. Automating and transformation of the company in IT is also a strategic move. It's going to help you lower the time in which you deliver products. It's going to save cost, and obviously it's going to improve the quality of the way you go about doing your work. So it's a strategic thing. You have to see it through. So with this, I conclude this video. If you think that this helped you in any way, please hit a big fat like. If you have more questions, queries with respect to how to go about automation, please mention it in the comment box. If you've not subscribed to this channel, hit the subscribe button very hard. Play with the bell icon. That way, every time I do a new video, you will be intimated. Until we meet next time, keep learning, keep looking at growing to a stage where you can automate and transform your organization to the next level. Until we meet next time, all you fine people, keep propelling.